Hello, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter, your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer on SI, joined by my fellow co-beat writer, the one and only, the great Ezekiel Trezevant. I'm the host of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast, and let's get right through it. This is day 5, or report 5. It's actually day 6 of training camp, but this is our day 5, our 5th update for you. This was a physically intense practice that, Pete Carroll's been preaching since he got here. Compete, compete, compete. But I think there's another C, and it's compete, compete, compete. Consistency, consistency, consistency. And he did something today that I loved, and I want Zeke and I to start right there. About the last 45 minutes of practice, he would call out second in 4 at the defense's 27, or first and 10 at the offense's 30, whatever. And he let Patrick Graham call his own plays, Chip Kelly call his own plays. There was no script. And what was a very physically intense battle, Zeke, to me, that was impressive. I'd love your thoughts.
1000%. I would say, the cool thing about watching Chip and Pat go at it was that the physical tone had already been set. But when they went away from the script, when they got away from the script and they started kind of getting into those game situations, you saw the mental aspect of things get thrown into it, and not just for the players, but for the coordinators as well. That was huge. And I also think it speaks to the fact that, and the players have mentioned this, but I think it was Eric Stokes mentioned this yesterday, but Pete Carroll's mixing it up every day. Every day, and he's mixing it up again for everybody, players, coaches, everything in between. So it was cool to see that, especially on that second day of pads, seeing those guys kind of mix things up. But hey, man, there's a lot to be excited about. A lot to be excited about.
Now, you and I were tipped off by sources in the building that it was going to be a very physical practice, so we were not surprised, but it still was fun to watch, wasn't it?
Huge, huge, and it started right away. Obviously after they got through, individual drills and they went to the team aspect of things, they wasted no time, right? There was no, oh, let's get through 5 or 10 plays. Literally, first play of teams, if I'm not mistaken, first or second play, Ginty, they give Ginty the ball, and it was Malcolm Kuntz, if I'm not mistaken, tackled him, landed on him hard, and Ginty popped right back up like let's get it. So it was exciting, and it wasn't just defense to offense. It was offense towards defense as well. The whole team had that physical aspect to them. I think that's one of the storylines of training camp.
I agree with you 100%. All right, I want to start talking. Let's start on the offensive side of the ball. It seems like every day we're talking about Alex Bachman. And I asked Pete Carroll about him today. You guys can go watch the video, it's already up. But this is a guy, Zeke, I think if the season were to start today, he's played himself on this roster. Now, there's a long way to go. And the season doesn't start today, but he is definitely moved into the mix.
Yeah, definitely has a roster spot. Technician, that is the word that I would use for him in terms of
Whoa,
what.
whoa, whoa, whoa. Did you just say he definitely has a roster spot? You think that's a given?
Oh, I wouldn't necessarily say a given.
Okay.
And I think there's not a whole lot of givens in this league, really, period, especially if you're not one of the top players. But I think, in terms of how deep they are, I think he is a great addition for them to have just kind of in their back pocket. And I think what he can do is he gives Chip another person that he can kind of, I don't want to say chop things up with, but mix things up with. So not necessarily, definitely just because out of respect of everybody that's on that roster that's battling for a position. He definitely has
Right.
an uphill battle somewhat, but I think they're going to make room for him. I like what I see from him, right? Not necessarily the most physically imposing person, but when it's time to do his job, he does his job well.
I gotta tell you though, like today he made 3 plays. He's that guy that always shows up, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah, and he's not necessarily a household name yet, obviously, but again, he does what he is supposed to do well. And there's a couple of guys there's a lot of guys, but there's a couple of guys specifically that do that in terms of for the Raiders on offense. They might not necessarily do what the next guy does well, but what the Raiders need him to do, he does.
Now let's make this very clear. Jacoby Myers is like Brock Bowers and Max Crosby. They're all so good that you almost overlook them because they do everything right. So the reason I'm prefacing this is with my next comment, people would assume that I was saying he was overshadowing Jacoby, and he's not. But Dante Thornton has really stole the spotlight from the other receivers, hasn't he?
he's got a lot of spotlight on him, but I'll piggyback off of what you said, Hondo, and I will tell you this, what I think. I think Dante is going to be great in conjunction with Jacoby. So I think once you kind of see how Chip uses them together, whether they're lined up next to each other or not, I think it's going to be fun to watch those guys lined up next to each other and kind of just pick defenses apart. But Dante Thornton, huge, huge in terms of physical
Mhm.
stature. He's got the speed. Right now, he's really just working on that mental aspect of things, learning the playbook as best he can for a rookie, a complicated playbook, a deep playbook. But you can't, it's hard not to notice him. I think he's had a touchdown 2 days in a row now for the Raiders in training camp.
Let's talk about Ashton Ginty because one thing has really stood out with me. Um, you know, Brock Bowers is a unicorn, a rookie that comes in total command and control. That just doesn't happen. Now, and then go on to be the best player at his position in the NFL. I'm not saying Ashton Ginty is going to be the best running back in the NFL this year because I don't believe he will be. But here is what amazes me about this guy. Chip Kelly is, I mean, how many, we don't get into schematics. How many new things did we see from the offense and defense today? There's probably 15, 20 things. And he just gets it. And yep, he'll make a rookie mistake, but he doesn't repeat stuff. The more I watch him, the more I am impressed with his brain and his football IQ.
I don't feel like I'm watching a rookie. We sat there at practice today and we watched those guys run through a full practice, and I didn't look. I'm looking for number two, but I don't think I'm looking. I don't feel like I'm looking for somebody who's in their first season in the NFL. I feel like I'm looking for somebody
Mhm.
that belongs back there, that they expect a lot of. And it's there's no guarantees in this league, but Ashton looks nice, man. He looks nice, and I think again, I say this all the time. Hearing how his teammates talk to him, we spoke to Devin White today, and hearing Devin kind of hearing Devin say the same thing that we said yesterday, right on the podcast, in terms of seeing Ashton get into a group of big guys, and then you look up and he's popping out of it. It's fun to watch. It's going to be amazing to watch. I think there's going to be a lot in store for the Raiders offense this season.
Let's talk about Geno because with all of the new stuff that Chip Kelly's throwing every day, he walks out there and it's like he wrote the play. He just is extremely comfortable. I've not seen him one time where I felt like he didn't know what the play was, and they're throwing everything at these guys. He's helping other people. Again, I said it about Ashton. I'm going to say it about Geno. I mean, Geno today had two bad passes that I saw. That's it. And I watched every snap of practice. Um, his football IQ is even higher than I thought it was.
I think this might have been one of the best practices, maybe top two that he's had, right? And obviously this is still early, don't get me wrong, but I think this is one of the best practices he's had. You could see the confidence really just in throwing the ball, and just you could tell that he was confident. I would also point out, and you've kind of alluded to it, Chip Kelly, man, he's going to have so many different play formations, so many different concepts. Defenses heads, their heads should be spinning this season in terms of all the things that they can do. And one thing I like about what Chip is doing is he's giving these guys on the offense tools to work with outside of the Brock Bowers, outside of the Jacoby Myers. There's so many different things that Geno's going to be able to do in this offense because of the versatility that Chip is bringing. It's going to be pretty cool to watch.
I was on Sirius XM the other night and I made a comment. I said, if the Raiders offense last year was arrested for being an NFL offense, there would not have been enough evidence to convict them. And I can tell you right now, next year when this Raiders offense is on the field, nobody better be getting up and going to get snacks.
Not at all. Not at all. There's going to be so many different things that they're going to be able to do and mix things up. It's going to be. Listen, I think all the fans at home, you're in for a treat. You're in for a surprise. And I'll second what you said in terms of last season. It was it was flat out tough to watch the offense sometimes last year. I mean, I honestly, I know there was times in the press box I'd rather look at the guy beside me and talk to him and talk to you than to look on the field.
I am
So
the guy beside you.
yeah, I know. That's what I said. Talk to him and talk to you. So, but yes, it's going to be completely different. Now we're not
Mhm.
guaranteeing 10, 12, 14 wins by any means, but it's going to be better than what it was last season, and I think it's going to be a lot better, assuming
I think it's
everyone
going to
stays
be
healthy.
exponentially better.
Yes.
So I want to talk about Brock Bowers again because, again, him, Jacoby, Max, these are guys that play at such a high level that, I mean, every day I say something about Max. He's a cyborg. He's not human, whatever. But Brock Bowers did something today that I've only seen two other players do, Jerry Rice and Barry Sanders. He gets up the field so fast. I shot some video that I'm gonna put in a story here pretty soon about guys catching the ball and, running 2 or 3 steps towards the sideline and turning up the field. And he goes up, catches the ball, and while he's in the air, twists his entire body so that when his feet hit the ground, he's already going forward. I've only seen Barry and Jerry do that. This guy is is special. Help me think of
And
a better word.
and it's natural for him, right? And Brock has
Well,
always had that ability to put one foot in the ground and turn up. And when he turns up upfield, it's going to be hard to stop him, especially once he gets that first 2 or 3 steps going. It's hard to stop him. So, listen, there's not enough words to really describe Brock and what he can do. Maybe unicorn. Obviously, you said special. There's only one Brock Bowers, man. And what it's going to be fun is and interesting, very interesting, is to see how well he does in year 2, right? And see where he can get better, see where he can get better as a player. So, definitely look out for Brock. But again, we know how great Brock is. We know how great he can be because there's still a lot left on the bone for him. He's only entering year 2. So, watching what Brock does is going to be interesting.
so we've talked a lot about tight ends, and Ian Thomas looks phenomenal. I mean, you really can't think of another word for it. You've got Brock Bowers, who looks otherworldly, Michael Mayer, who looks really good, Ian Thomas looks really good. I think those three are a lock. And when I did my before camp projections, I had those three making it. Those three, Ian Thomas is a guy that I feel bad that we haven't talked about more. I've not yet seen a mistake from him yet. He makes every catch. He's looked great. In fact, as good as he's looked, I think Michael Mayer's looked just as good. And those two are maybe even in a battle for TE2.
Listen, I agree in terms of how we have not spoken much about him, but I think that's where he and Chip Kelly wants him to be. I think they want to be able to catch defenses off guard. So I think as long as we're not talking about him, the Raiders offense is happy about it. I think it's gonna, you line up two of those guys, and you got to worry about them. Not to mention Jacoby and Ash and everybody else on the offense, and then you just got Ian just right there, right? So I think he's gonna have a good season. Might be one of his best seasons because I think Chip Kelly wants to make a point out of using him and out of using Michael and out of using Brock. So I think the mad scientist Chip Kelly, yeah, get ready, get ready. You're gonna like what you see.
You think there's any chance we see 13 personnel, one running back, and three tight ends this year?
Yes,
I do too.
yes,
And we're
sir.
not giving away anything schematic. I just
Oh,
think we will see it.
not at all.
Um, let's talk about, though, there are two other tight ends, and I reported the other day, I didn't say they were going to, but I said there have been discussions about maybe keeping four tight ends. How about that battle between Kadir Ismail and Carter Runyon?
Yes, listen, we saw Running yesterday make a good play, make a couple of good plays out there. That speaks to how deep these guys are, right? These guys are deep, really at every position across the board. And when I say deep, I mean 2 levels deep. They usually have a good starter and then a good backup, and then you go back again to tight end 4. I mean, it's a battle, right? It's a battle, and I think that speaks to the versatility Chip Kelly wants.
All right, let's go to Jordan Meredith. And I'm getting a lot of comments and emails from people asking me, why is he getting reps at center? Is it because is it because Jackson Powers Johnson's playing bad? No, he's not. It's just Jordan's playing that well. And I thought Pete had some really interesting comments about him today when he talked about his size, and then all of a sudden you see Adam Butler say he thinks um, that JPJ is going to be an all-pro guard. It was just really interesting to me. Your thoughts on Meredith, because I think Jackson's played great. This is not a slam on Jackson in the least bit. It's just a compliment that Meredith deserves.
Well, first of all, Meredith is huge, just on a very simplistic level. If you ever get a chance to stand next to him, he's a large human being, let me tell you. But you can see it in his eyes. I mean, I looked in his eyes when we were next to the offensive line a couple, not too long ago, and he just had that fire. So you talk about the size, you talk about the experience, and you talk about versatility. He can play multiple positions. I think JPJ obviously is your center, but what happens if JPJ is to get hurt? You got to be prepared in case that happens. So I think that's kind of where the Raiders are. Listen, Meredith,
Yep.
he's going to see the field, right? It's just a matter of where is he going to see the field and when is he going to see the field. And I don't think any of us are going to be surprised if he sees a good amount of playing time this year. So right now is the time to see what you got, and guys. It's the time to prepare for the unexpected, prepare for the season that's coming. And I think that's what they're doing with Meredith.
I agree. So Raheem Mostert was not there today. He had a baby, and you and I are both dads, and we love it. It's probably the greatest thing in our life. So big salute to Raheem. But let's talk about Zamir and Sincere. They are locked in a battle. Both of them are playing really well. If I had to give an assessment, and I think the battle's close, I'm giving the edge to Zamir right now. What are your thoughts? Agree, disagree? What are your thoughts? But I think they're both playing outstanding.
I think it's somewhat even. And I do think Zamir, he looks healthy, man. He looks healthy. Last year he wasn't you I know he had his struggles, but he just was not healthy, right? There's things he can get better at, healthy or not, don't get me wrong, but he was not healthy, and right now he looks healthy. But in terms of battles, I mean, this is one of the bigger battles on the squad right now is
Mhm.
between these two, and they both do what they do, and they do it well. Sincere can catch the ball a little bit better out of the backfield than Zamir can. Zamir's been working on it over the last couple of years, but Sincere does it naturally, and Samir has that burst to him. Right, once he gets going, it's tough to stop him too. So that's going to be one of the fun battles to keep an eye on. I would give the edge to Zamir. He looks better, and then you take what Pete Carroll said today in terms of Zamir. It kind of tells you which way they're leaning, if you ask me.
All right, let's talk about, we've already talked about Geno, just how he's playing so well. Again, I thought Aiden O'Connell had a really good day. He showed off some zip with a quick release and a big pass to, I think that was to Bachman, I think, for the big play. Then came up the next one and just missed a guy. Now hear me, because I'm not picking on him. I think he is showing us growth. I think he's a much better quarterback today than he was a year ago. Uh, I think he's a better quarterback today than he was at the end of the season. I think he's starting to show us some QB1 skills. He's not there yet, but I think the difference between him being a QB1 and not right now is consistency. But Aiden O'Connell's getting better every day.
Every day, every day, every day, every day, and I think that's the huge thing, right? Some guys can kind of plateau once things get going,
Mhm.
but it seems like Aiden is taking at least one step every day. The confidence is there, man. The confidence is there, and I think to a certain degree, him not necessarily having that pressure of a starting quarterback has made things easier for him this offseason, right? It's going to allow him to take the pressure off of him and just get better, right? And that's what he's doing. So today in terms of practice, you saw the confidence, you saw the poise. That's the one thing I noticed from him is that there was no unsureness, if you will, from Aiden today. You know how I feel about Aiden. I like him. I root for him, and I like the fact that you can see the progress, man. That's what we all want to see, right? That's all we want to see is somebody make progress, see the team make progress. Aiden is doing it. The sky's the limit for him. He just has to put it together, and he's got to be in the right situation.
Yeah, I think Cam Miller, the rookie, looks like he's a guy coming from the FCS to the NFL. He will show a flash occasionally that you're like, oh, okay, yeah, we can see why Tom Brady likes him, but he's nowhere near ready. And that is a huge jump from the SEC or the Big Ten to the NFL, let alone FCS. And every time we talk about him and compliment him, man, my inbox fills up. Is he competing with eight? No, 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 no. He looks like a rookie coming from the FCS. He does some things well, but people need to tap the brakes a little bit. Am I wrong?
No, no, no. You hit it right on the head. I think it's a clear 1, 2, 3 in terms of quarterback. But I think that grit is why they have him. Obviously, he has the arm talent, he has the mind for it. But I
Mhm.
think coming from the FCS just adds to that grit, right, that he has. And I think that might be why he kind of got that cosign from Tom. So you can see it out there. You can see his arm. I was watching him today too. He's got a good mobility to him too as well. So it's definitely a 1, 2, 3 though for them at that position.
You and I mentioned this a minute ago, both love being dads. And it was hard to listen to Devin White today and not get choked up. And I asked him about the fact that, when I watched his film the last year or so, because I watched it when the Raiders re-signed him, he didn't look like the Devin that I knew coming out of college, who was, he was loved the game and all of that. And I asked him about, is it more about getting healthy, or what is it that got your smile back? Because he's had an interception today. He's played great every practice. And he told the story about when he was growing up, his dad was incarcerated. So his dad gets out of prison, and then they became close. First time in his life he had it. And then he said, I lost my dad. And I waited my whole life for this, and I finally got him, and then bam, I lost him. And he talked about being in a right place. Boy, that was emotional, wasn't it?
Man, I just want to take a second to tell everybody, man, mental health is important, right? Whether you're a
Yeah.
professional player or not, but especially if you're a professional player, right? These guys live a different life, man, and it doesn't matter how big, fast, strong you are. If you're not right in the mind, if things aren't going well mentally, that big, fast, strong body is not going to do you a whole lot of good. So it was definitely good to see, him with that smile on his face. We're all familiar with Devin White and what he can do when he is on, and that's what he's looked like in training camp so far. But in terms of the story with his father today, it pulled at your heartstrings, man. But I think a lot of us can identify our relationship or maybe our lack of relationship with our father. Just having that is huge, especially for men. So it was cool to kind of connect with him, from afar, if you will, on that story, just as men, right, as dads, and to kind of see how that has impacted him over the last years. But it's good to see him healthy. It's good to see him mentally healthy. And yeah, you can tell the difference between him right now and where he was previously. The way he looked today, man, it's just the energy. When he had that interception, everybody went crazy. They were hooting and hollering out there. So it was good to see him out there. If Devin White stays healthy this year, guys, look out, man. Look out. Pete Carroll said it today. He's back, and I don't think he was exaggerating. Right? It's a matter of him staying healthy.
He looks like the Devin White that was playing in a Super Bowl. All right. I want to go back because I don't feel like I've been respectful to somebody. We've talked about Brock, Jacoby, and Max all playing at such a high level that we almost overlook them. And there's a fourth guy that's got to go in that, and that's Landon Roberts. This guy, I saw 4 plays today, Zeke, 4, where pre-snap read, he's putting guys in the right spot or moving them, and they either got a sack, a tackle, an INT, or a big play. Landon Roberts has been nothing short of terrific since he's been in the desert. And this is a guy, and I've been perfectly respectful of him as a person and a player, but I just feel like he's so good, we just overlook it. Please talk about Landon.
Yeah, listen, he's been great. I think it's going to be tough to run the ball against the Raiders in part because of what he brings to the table. If I'm not mistaken, he considers his ability to fly up the field and stop the run as his quote unquote superpower, as he referenced it earlier this offseason. I also think Landon's going to be able to, and you mentioned this as well, he's going to impact the game in ways that don't necessarily show up on the stat sheet. In addition to impacting the stat sheet. And I think that's where his value is going to be huge. But yeah, I think in terms of where he is right now with the Raiders, I think it's similar again to where Robert Spillane was, right? When they signed him, you really weren't talking about Robert when he first got here. And then gradually over time, you start talking about him more. So I think Elandon is kind of right there.
I was talking about Robert. I just want to make that clear.
We
Let's
were
talk.
talking about Robert. I'm very biased
Yeah,
when it comes to that. So, but yes,
you
yes,
and I were because we both made the comment that he was a steal. And I remember we got massive criticism for that. All
yes,
right,
sir.
let's talk about that linebacker room because Devin and Elandon are your clear starters. Clear starters. On another team, Jamal would be because Jamal Adams is playing out of his mind. The fact that he's the second string linebacker on this team is immensely unbelievable. Now, when they go to 3 linebackers, he's not. He's there. I'm not saying he isn't, but Jamal Adams, man, it's just like with Devin making that big interception down the field, showing his wheels. And then you're watching Jamal step up in the run game and do some blitz stuff. I don't know, I would use the term blitz, but putting pressure on the quarterback. To me, Jamal Adams, and you look at Jamal and Devin, and these are the guys we talked about. We talked about Mostert. We talked about Jamal Adams. We talked about Devin White, Jermaine Pratt, who's playing terrific. We said before the season, John Spytek goes and gets these 4 guys for relative cheap. If they don't pan out, they've done nothing to hurt the team. If they pan out, John looks like
A genius.
a savant. Jamal Adams is playing out of his mind. And if they're only with 2 backers, he's a backup. Your
Yeah.
thoughts?
Listen, he's going to be very right now. I think it's an underrated addition because of the different things that they can do with him and what they can do with
Mhm.
him because they can move him to linebacker. Then you can go ahead and get Lonnie Johnson in there. You can move a lot of different people around in that safeties room as well because you put Jamal up there. And then again, we go back to you can't run the ball. You're not going to run the ball against these guys. In general, though, when it comes to Pete, when it comes to this team, if you go look since Pete got here, if I'm not mistaken, they've signed upwards of about 10 linebackers. Now they've made additional moves, don't get me wrong, but that shows you how important this position is to Pete and how seriously they're taking it. Personally, whether it's Jamal, whether it's Landon, I'm not sure that outside of those guys, Pete really cares about what your name is. He just wants you to play to your strengths and he wants you to take advantage of what you bring to the table. I think that's their approach to the linebacker group. I think they're looking at it like this. Whether it's a Landon, whoever it may be, they're going to figure it out. So they've added a bunch of linebackers for a reason. That should be a position they're not worried about too much more going forward.
Let's talk about another guy, Charles Snowden. I mean, he's just, I've sung his praises a lot. This is a young man that belongs in this league. He can play. I saw him twitch today, and he jumped off that line of scrimmage so fast. I'm taking notes, and I was going to comment. It was Max, and then all of a sudden I look over, and Max is on the other side of the field. I, Charles Snowden, he just keeps showing up and showing out.
Snowden's got a potential to be a pretty good player, if you ask me. He's got the physical
Yeah,
stature, right? He's huge, right? He's got the long arms, lanky dude. He's got the speed for the position. Maybe he could add a little bit more weight for the defensive line, but in terms of the talent, it is there, right? You can't you can't deny it,
he's
right?
just
So
he's just following you.
yeah, I was coming from a very personal spot right there. Don't get me, I was hoping you wouldn't point that out. But yes, sir. Listen, Stoughton has a great opportunity. I think the defensive ends, the Raiders, they're deep at that position as well. You start looking at their second and third level defensive ends. They got some serviceable guys back there, and Snowden is one of them. So it's going to be interesting to see his growth this season.
All right. I want to talk about something I saw from Max Crosby today. I've not seen, and I've known him a long time. So Justin Shorter and Jacorian Bennett got into it and had a little skirmish. And man, Max went over there and just ended that right now. And I, he's usually jumping in the middle of that kind of stuff. And today he was taking the seasoned leadership role. That impressed me.
Well, I will say this, Hado. It bear with me for a second, but it really impressed me because if you go back to 12 months ago, when these guys were in training camp and in practices, like you said, Max was always in there. There's a lot of scuffles, and Max was always in there. And if you heard what he said recently, he talked about how he has a 100% fight rate in joint practices, and there's a joint practice coming up. So I think two things: Max is saving the fighting for the joint practice because that's going to happen. He already told you it's going to happen. And two, I think the reason of the change is this: these guys are fighting hard to become closer, right? They're trying to
Mhm.
become closer as a team. I don't think they're close enough right now to have skirmishes of that sort. They're too busy trying to make the bond. So I think that's why he's kind of changed sides of where he is right now. Instead of jumping in it, he's breaking it up. So if you're going to fight, save that for a couple of days when the 49ers are in town.
Adam Butler played outstanding, outstanding.
Mhm.
And he has all camp, he has all off season, and he's constantly leading these young guys, and they're following. Would you talk about Adam Butler?
Man, I was looking at Adam today, and even when I asked him the question, I almost wanted to just listen. Adam was stout, right, in the middle of the day. Just kind of watching him just anchor the defense, the middle of the defensive line. I think he's going to be having a great year, just like he did last year. Is he going to have a career year? Maybe, maybe not. But you can see that he is a leader in terms of off the field. And he's going to be a leader on that field. I think he's the guy in terms of your interior defensive line that they're going to depend on heavy coming up. He looks good. He looks like he's made the jump. Another jump. He's in. I don't even have the words. I was definitely looking at him today, and you can see he's made some improvements this year.
One penalty on offense, one penalty on defense, none on special teams. It was a disciplined battle today. It was super physical, but man, was it disciplined. Would you not agree with that?
Very, very clean. Very, very clean in terms of penalties not being called. Obviously, guys, if you don't know, they have referees on site during practices, and that's what's going on. So yeah, not that many penalties, and I think that's going to be another trait of a Pete Carroll team, right? You're not going to beat yourself, right? Now things happen, penalties happen, but I think they make it a point. Hey, no penalties or as few as possible.
Yeah, I thought that was really impressive. So overall, Zeke, give me your thought process. I thought today was the best team practice that they've had. I love the physicality. Again, we were tipped off to it. We knew about it, that it was going to be that way because of tomorrow. But again, I was just thoroughly impressed. To me, I thought defense won. I don't think that's even up for debate. But I thought it was a great practice by all three sides. I thought it had a good one. And I just thought it was the Raiders are a better team today than they were this morning.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. I do think all around this is probably the best practice we've watched. I think they're a little bit ahead of schedule for it to only have been the second day of pads, considering all of the changes that they have made this year. I don't think a lot of people are truly understanding how difficult it has to be to implement a new quarterback, a new running back, a new offensive coordinator, all the different pieces that they have on offense that they're already working through. I think they're a little bit ahead of schedule considering the changes that they made.
All right, so let me ask you this. What stood out to you the most today?
Honestly, I was looking at Ashton Ginty, right? I had all eyes on Ashton, seeing where he lined up, and I know, picking the number 6 overall pick in the draft is easy to say that he was the what you're looking at today, but it was right. Your only second day of pads. Can he take a hit? That's what I wanted to see. Is he going to take a hit and keep on going? And he did. He did, and it didn't phase him. So I definitely paid attention to that, and then obviously defensive line, right? Just kind of seeing what those guys look like. They look good, man. They look better. They look better. We're not saying they're going to Super Bowl, but they look better, and I think that that's very obvious even though it's early on.
All right, I'm going to give you one other observation I had on Genti and want to know what you think. In 2 days in pads, and he's been tattooed. I've not seen him fall backwards.
Not once.
And now, and so for people at home who don't understand that, if a running back gets hit 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage and he only loses two, that's called falling forward. He just falls forward. Now, quite frankly, I can only think of one play where I think he lost yardage. All the rest, I mean, there's been something positive that stands out to me. Everyone knows the big runs. I'll give you a classic example. You're too young to remember him in his prime, but Barry Sanders, people would watch it and say, he had 40 runs for 200 yards, but he may have three 50-yarders. But the fact was, because he didn't always have a very good offensive line, he would get hit 3 and 4 and 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and you'd see a lot of 1, 2, and 3 yard runs that were 7 yard runs. They were amazing runs because he didn't lose yards. Again, Ashton ain't Barry. I'm not pretending that he's Barry, but what I'm saying is he has that ability to fall forward, and that's a special trait.
Yeah, no, this is the thing about Ashton. It's twofold. If the play is there, he's gonna make it, and if the play is not there, he can still make it, which is not the case for all running backs. He's made something out of nothing plenty of times. We've already watched it happen. And like you said, we don't ever really see him go backwards. He might, go down right where you hit him at, right? If you hit him before he gets going. But overall, he's not falling backwards. He's making a lot of cuts. He's hitting the hole hard. Listen, guys, listen. Get ready for Ashton Ginty. Just get ready. Get ready. Get ready.
He's coming, baby.
He's coming. He's coming.
All right. Zeke, tell everybody where to find you on social media.
EZT as in Tom, REZ_SI on X/Twitter.
EZTrez_SI. You can find me at Hondo Carpenter and on Threads and IG at Hondo SR. And as always, catch it all the videos, the podcasts. Go read my article, everything I saw in camp. It's already been published for today. Check it all out at si.com/NFL/Raiders. And by the way, I have a very special article coming tomorrow on the big things I've heard from camp. Trust me, you don't want to miss tomorrow's article. Zeke's got a bunch coming. So much great stuff. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Thanks, Zeke.
Thank you. See you soon.